Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon and happy Friday to everybody. It's Roz McCarthy here, and we are live. It's Can I Talk with Roz? Go ping in some friends. Let's talk. Let's have a good time today. I'm so excited to be with you. It has been, man, it's been almost, I want to say 7 months since I've been on live, and I apologize. Last year was crazy. 2022 was a great year, but man, was it busy. But one thing that I did miss and that I just really love is being able to have these live conversations with Can I Talk with Roz? And Can I Talk with Roz? Let me tell you, I start this program because I get an opportunity to meet some fantastic people. But sometimes folks that are in not like if you don't get a chance to get out as much as I do, or sometimes if you're not in that same circle, or maybe just being having a connection with someone, you miss out on meeting some really fantastic people. And so Can I Talk was all about being able to have this really open, great, creative, robust conversation with individuals in the cannabis industry that really have made an impact in my life. And so I like to share. And I'm so happy because our guests today, they're strong, impactful women that are taking charge and enlarge in the cannabis industry. And so I'm just excited to have our guest today. So first thing first, make sure that you like us on YouTube so that when we go live on YouTube, YouTube is Can I Talk with Roz. Share right now, invite people to come in, to listen, to be involved, to share in the conversation. The comments, if you make a comment, if you have a question, if you want to know, if you want to share something, put a comment. We'll put it on the screen and we'll share it with our guest. Okay. So listen, I got a brand new attitude. I got a new hairdo, got new blonde hair thing going on. I'm rocking my hat today. I'm so excited because we have two awesome ladies coming in to bring in our very first Can I Talk with Roz for 2023. Our first guest is Miss Lulu. Is it Lulu Soup? Is that, did I
Oh,
pronounce it right, Lulu?
sway,
Sway.
sway.
Okay, I
Yes.
almost said it. I knew he was silent, but I just missed
You
the
said
second
it.
part. So we have Miss Lulu Sway with On the Revel and also with the Cannabis Media Council. And last but not least, we have Miss Carrie Accardi. And Carrie is a part of, she is the co-founder, the founder and executive for 420 Media and Connected TV. Ladies, hello. Happy New Year.
Happy
Happy,
New Year.
how are you?
Pretty good, Roz. I was just going through my emails and I realized like we connected. Our first time connecting was in 2018.
Oh my
So it's
God.
been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in cannabis years, what that's 4 years
Yeah,
per
well, in
normal year.
cannabis, so
So
what? We're in 2023.
it's four.
So
Yeah,
cannabis years is what I look at it
four
as
years.
like dog
Say
years. So we've
four
been
years.
knowing each other
Yeah.
now for 35 years in
Yeah,
dog years,
exactly.
right?
So it's an honor to be on your podcast, and I'm happy to chop it up with you and carry
I'm
today.
happy to have you. So Lulu, since you kind of teed it up, before we even get into conversation, do a proper introduction of yourself. Tell everyone who you are, where you're located, your role in the cannabis industry, and a little bit about the organizations that you're a part of.
Okay. So I would say my main market is New York. I've been in Brooklyn for about 16 years now, off and on. My it's hard. I've been all over both coasts for a very long time, but I started in Oregon when my parents immigrated to the States from China. And my story with cannabis is a little bit different. The people that took care of us, helped my parents acclimate to U.S. culture, babysat me, taught us English. Were all cannabis growers, distributors, people that were part of the plant medicine world, the healing world. So I was, kind of just raised into the world of legacy on the cultivation and distribution side. And of
Wow.
course, when I turned 18, I ran away because I wanted to be on the dance floor in my heels with all these things. And I fell into tech. So I spent a lot of time in Seattle and San Francisco, just growing up with tech. So by trade, for the past 20 years, I've been a UX designer and researcher before it had those terms. So I just kind of grew up with the internet. And then in 2015, my friends and from Washington State, because Carrie, I saw that you did a lot of stuff in Washington State too. But since 2015, I went back to Washington State and came up on the processing, manufacturing, uh, production side of the house with the machines.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been bi-coastal with New York for about 16 years. And in 2016, really wanted to bring information that was happening, the ground truth of what was happening in active markets to New York, because at that time, there was a lot of conversation about advocacy. There was a lot of conversation about investment, but there really wasn't a lot of conversation around supply chain, especially for people that look like me. Like most of the markets are still predominantly white. In New York, there is diversity, more diversity than I've ever seen living on the West Coast. So my co-founder, Jacoby Holland, who came from the Colorado market, and I decided to just start, bringing in people that looked like us, that, were doing amazing things, that shared the same ethos to New York, to just kind of start these conversations about like opportunities, especially on the supply chain side and ancillary side, that New Yorkers could start kind of like marinating and thinking about how they want to participate. And the other project I'm involved with since last year is the Cannabis Media Council. So I'm president alongside two amazing women, Joyce Denali and Amy Dennison, and a beautiful board of beautiful, strong powerhouse ladies. And our main mission is to start using media, mainstream media, and showcasing cannabis in a positive, lighthearted manner.
Yeah.
I'm very excited that our first campaign, I'm High Right Now, is dropping next week, along with a partnership with Hearst Media. So those are the
Awesome.
two main projects that I'm working on, and just dabbled across different types of tech and cannabis for the past 6 years as well. Sorry, that was really
Isn't
long-winded.
no, that's good, because I think you had to set the foundation, because I love the media council angle, because normalizing cannabis from a media perspective and mainstream media, like for us that are in the industry, we get it. Like we know the plant, we have a
Yeah.
relationship, we get it. If you say this, but I think I always tell people that if you look at a pie of people, in the US, you got 20% are either users or have used, consumed, but you got a whole 80% that don't have a connection. And media is the best way. And we're media challenged with cannabis due to some of the restrictions. So I just love what you're doing on that side. And I want to talk more. I want to talk about on the Revel and the supply chain, supply diversity conversation. Let me bring in Carrie, because once I bring Carrie in and she tells her story, and again, Carrie, tell them your name, where you're located, what how long you've been in the industry, what you do, and about your organization. And I think when you hear from Carrie, the blending of why I specifically wanted you two on for today will make sense. So Carrie, you got the floor.
Thank you, Roz. And yeah, I can see it already. We have a lot of synergies already.
Yeah.
So my name is Carrie Accardi. I am a native New Yorker. I left New York December 10th, 2013, on a mission to educate the world about cannabis after my aunt died. So it started super personal as an activist. My background is I am a producer. I'm a trained actress. I'm a director. So that is my background. When I started, I knew one person in the industry at the time in Northern Cali. So I went there. That night I was in a political council meeting. The next day I was learning how to grow, went through every step possible at that time to really understand the plant, because you can't educate people until you know what you're talking about. So that was first and foremost. During that time, it was January 14, New York quasi-legalized through executive order. And I called a former colleague and said I was going to start at that time a video production company to showcase the plant for the miracle she is. Did he want to be involved? He did at the time. And that started the journey of creating 420 Media. So 420 Media is an agency that's been around since 2014. We started it was Washington State is where we ended up incorporating. It would initially started as a video production company, expanded. So we started, basically, long story short, we were doing a lot of video content. We were contacted by television, mainstream TV. Back in 15 and 16, we had an agency of record with CBS for cannabis content. So Going right into like what Lulu said, it's really important to get to mainstream media, to get out of the four walls of an event. And really, it's how people learn. It's really how people learn and how we all grew up. So fast forward a week after the election, CBS reneged on that deal. So basically knocked the wind out of me and then restarted why I was originally getting this information out. So I knew firsthand now they had the information and made a choice not to put it out, which is like insane still to think about. But long story short, 420 Media aired the first commercial during prime time on History, Bravo, and Discovery in California in 2018. 2019, we aired during the Super Bowl in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. The person in that commercial is the Commissioner of Agriculture in the Virgin Islands currently, the former 7-term senator that pushed for legalization. That was Positive Nelson, who you know, Roz.
Yes.
We have, during that time when we left, I've had the industry basically documented since 14. So we have 8 years of professionally filmed content, over 500 people already sharing their stories, series, and other stuff. In 2021, we launched our streaming TV channel called Connected TV. That's connected with an A, like cannabis. And we are currently on Roku, Apple TV, and iOS globally, Android TV, Amazon Fire, LG CTV, Sony, Panasonic, Philips, Sharp, all this TV, like literally. So it's like a real game changer, and it's just different. It's just different.
Yes.
Go on and you open your TV and you can see it. And so to even witness people when they watch some of the content, is to watch their change right before them, to not understand people are still facing prison, life sentences, people are still getting in trouble, getting fired, etc. So now we have Connected TV. This year we're going to be expanding to linear. We just put out, actually running right now, we have a High Holidays program. So Santa was super stressed out last year. All these people wanted cannabis, hemp, and CBD products, and he didn't know about them. He doesn't know where to get them, and how's he going to deliver them and not get in trouble? So his elf friend, Ngaio Baum, came in and came to console him and opened up. He was in the legacy market. Did Santa want to learn more about cannabis? And so he started his journey, and we were up in Emerald Cup. The first episode has Tim Blake, the founder of the Emerald Cup, Swami from Nikki and Swami from Swami Select. We have a couple of farmers. We have Sochi, who is a transgender veteran, sharing her story. And then Santa gets empowered, and he's gifted and turns a green suit, turns into Sativa Santa. And we have an episode out now that covered in the MJ BizCon, which is really fun and it really, insightful and educational in a very lighthearted way. And so that's what's out now. And we have some content coming out from the MJ Unpack Lulu, where we hung out. We have some interviews with Adelia Carrillo in the Clio Awards. We have 50 women right now streaming their stories on the channel, and we have over 200 more coming out this quarter. So I encourage you both to share your story. That one is produced by us, so there is no charge on that. And it's really, again, to break that layer of one in cannabis, but really women. We really need to support each other. We need to empower each other and put the voices out. And, at the end of the day, women are making most of the decisions in purchasing power, in educating their children and whatnot. And so it's long-winded, but this is what I'm doing and what we're doing now.
It's so fantastic. Oh my gosh. It's so fantastic, the work that you're doing. And really, more importantly, how you've morphed from 420 Media into this now streaming, because this is what, who does not like their Netflix streaming? I am so grateful for my Netflix, because I can stream, I can take in content when I want to, I can stop and pause it. I think it's fantastic. I would love it for you guys, if you can, someone, either Carrie or Lulu, set the foundation as to why media has been, like you talk about CBS that pretty much reneged on that opportunity with you. Lulu, you've talked about like, trying to integrate in mainstream. You guys want to talk about just for our viewers to understand why it's been a challenge for cannabis and why we have to think outside the box?
Sure, I can start. I think for me, what we've encountered specifically is, I think it all leads down to money, right? A lot of these companies, these media companies, are publicly owned, and we are still operating in a space that's federally illegal. So the things that we've been hearing is, oh, well, we can't take that money because it's really not legal money, or oh, our shareholders are going to be upset X, Y, and Z. So for us, I think until there's safe banking, where we're able to be a normal industry, like a
Yeah.
lot of these larger corporations are just very hesitant on being able to take what is considered not legal federal money that's working. So we're Facebook, Instagram, like all these campaigns that we're trying to do, that we've been trying to like push forward, for even CBD. It's there's just such limitations, and that's what we're seeing also. Like we can't advertise across normal channels with Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the other things that are considered like sin industries, but they haven't even really been defined as to what that is as of yet. So we're kind of in this like really messy gray area. I say when anybody wants to come into cannabis, it's kind of like the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. You just have to kind of think on your feet and be adaptable and malleable. So I think for
Was that the genesis behind the Cannabis Media Council? Like when you guys were thinking about, okay, we want to start this council, is it for the media companies to be a part of it? Is it for content creators? Is it for organizations? Is it for brands? Is it for cannabis companies? Like who is your ideal, ideal kind of individual or entity that would be a part of the organization and what you guys have put together?
I would say it's all of the above. First and
Like
foremost,
right?
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we are a trade organization. So we're
Gotcha.
a trade organization, and our ethos is, look, it's time for us to reach out into the mainstream. We've been in our echo chamber, cannabis folks, for about 15 years. We go to events, it's cannabis people. We do something else, it's cannabis people. And statistics, I think right now it's like 70% of all Americans have somehow consumed in some way. So what's important for us is to get outside of that echo chamber. We've been preaching to our choir for a very long time. Now it's time to shoot out of, just cannabis industry. So that's why we were really grateful that, Hearst Media was open to partner with us to launch our first campaign across their channels. And, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about William Rudolph Hearst and all the things that he's done against prohibition.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he's done with prohibition, I should say.
But people don't realize how the Hearst publication, they touch so many different media outlets.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, they're the fourth media empire in the world. So that's like, magazines like Elle and Esquire. It's newspapers like SF Gates, etc. They have broadcast TV as well as radio. So they're a very large entity. And, no matter what you think about them, right? Like the fact that they're open now to try and maybe right what was wrong previously, for us, it's a good sign. And what we're hoping as is that, this can be an example. We're trying to normalize in a way. It's like, oh, so I'm reading through my Women's Day, or I'm reading through my New York Times, and there's an advertisement around CBD or around, consumption in a safe, practical way. So, we're trying to meet people in the normal actions that they take and how they consume media, and starting to pepper in cannabis in there just to start normalize. I mean, at the end of the day, it's literally just a plant. So
Really
we are, yeah, and we're that's our main objective right now for 2023. Is we have 3 campaigns that we want to just push out to as many markets as we can to just start having those conversations. And we are really intentional about trying to make this a little bit provocative, making it lighthearted. You know, a
Mm,
lot of the things that we've been seeing, which has taken us to where we're at right now, is about medical. It's been a lot about like very heavy things, social equity, social justice, which is so important. That's how we got here. But we need to reach out into the mainstream, and that needs to be happy, you know, and it needs to be like uplifting. You know, we just came out of a long COVID period where everything
yeah,
was just
yeah,
so heavy.
yeah.
The world is going a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So, you know, we want to reach out and
And we want to bring people into our world, right? Like,
exactly,
so I have like
exactly,
Bad Buddha Cannabis is my brand, and my taglines are feel better, get better, do better. And it's all about it's not about, you know, the social justice stuff that I work on. It's all about the holistic person. Because I think
exactly.
our customer is concerned about their holistic being. They do want a social impact, but they also want to just feel light and feel good and feel like, you know, like they're living, I guess, in the moment, right? And so,
Yeah.
Carrie, I would kind of transition to you when you're looking at from connected TV. How do you, like, you just railed off so much content? You know, that content that you're creating, is it, you know, are you looking at creating content that is, are they submitting content to you? Are you creating this whole content calendar yourself? Talk about your team with connected TV and how that has come together to be able to produce all of this beautiful content in cannabis.
Yeah, happily. So it's both. We right now we've produced a lot of the content that's on Connected, but we're in the process of adding partner content. We're looking more as to be like a cable of cannabis, where we're a destination platform for people to find Lulu or to find Roz or to find information on CBD or whatever it is in any state or country. It's about the endocannabinoid system or tours or whatever it is. I mean, we have a show now hosted by Super Bowl champ Marvin Washington called Fifth Quarter that really highlights cannabis and athletes. So as far as that is, like I said, right now we have a lot of content that's in different stages of production, a lot in post, and then a lot of new projects coming out. There are more of a daily news show, cooking, growing, that kind of stuff, information people need to move forward. I mean, everyone can grow in New York now and no one knows how. So things like that is really important. We are working with different partners for content. So we're adding podcasts right now, as well as other content. It's not a YouTube, so we're not user generated at this point, but we are adding a marketplace for brands called CannaGuide. So that consists of a listing, like a modern day yellow pages, right? Just a listing, your company, your name, some QR code, and how do they find you? A lookbook. So think back in the day, old Spiegel catalogs. So look at the photos, a little information.
Remember that?
I miss people.
Right? It's super easy. It's
You
fun.
went so far back to Spiegel catalog.
I'm old, girls. I'm old.
And you would get your idea of how you're going to put your outfit together and what you're going to wear. You go in there. Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. And then right now we're adding branded channels. So we're actually creating if you look at the app, we have a catalog from A to Z. We also have each state broken down. So people will be able to click into each state, find out the local news, find out local dispensaries and, laws, things per state. But yet in the catalog, if they want to find out about, organ associations or CBD or point of sale systems, anything that one would need, they can come in here. And then as they go in, what we're doing is we're working with brands. So brands can come in essentially it's like a mall. They can rent their store. So do you want a small store? Or do you want the big one in the corner? Are you part of the newsletter? Are you part of the paid program? Where do you fit in? And so that our goal now is to have the brands share their stories authentically. Who are you? And then people like yourself can watch it on your TV and go, oh, I want to reach out to Roz, or I want to
Right.
be part of this association, or whatnot, because we're in this place right now where, as fast as cannabis is growing is as much as it's going backwards, right? So you like Lulu pointed out, you don't have banking. People are worried about hearse, but they don't understand the history, right? So there's all this disconnection that's happening. Even with retailers, they're starting stores in New York, and they don't know what products they're putting on, or where do they find the products that they actually want, versus
Yeah.
just settling for whoever's coming into their store and pitching them. And so what this is meant to be a real catalog. And then what the brands can do is through digital content, so static ads like magazine ads, we use QR codes, and commercials or testimonials, demonstration, showcase, whatever it is. And it's a storefront, so it's taking the trade show to TV, all customized branding, coloring, banner ads, and then the static and video content. And then we use QR codes to stay compliant, and we take everybody off of our site. So we bring them up, bring everyone leads. Here's the awareness. Meet Lulu herself. You can hear her. Like, there's nothing I can say that can define what Lulu's organization is doing, or your organization versus
Yes.
you, right?
Yes.
And so to be able to share that, and then to say, okay, if you want to sign up now, subscribe, buy more, learn more, go to the next step, get off our site, see you later, which is another rarity for people to do this, is we're bringing them in and then we're sending them back to you.
Right.
And the goal is then you send them back to us, and then we send them back to you, because we're creating a relationship that's educating others. What people can do is then Roz can say, oh, look, we're on TV. We're on Roku. Look, Minorities for Marijuana or Black Buddha's on Roku. We're on Apple. We're global. Hey, you guys can check us out in Costa Rica or in Italy or whatever. Now they're tapping in and they're seeing you. They're not saying, oh, connected TV. They don't care where it is. It's like YouTube. It's your video.
It's your, all right. So stop right there. Let me frame this up, because I want to make sure everybody gets this. You guys, there is a platform for you to be able to put your content on there and be able to have these disclaimers when you are going and speaking. I tell people all the time, it's about the power of positioning. You have to position yourself of being of excellence, of being, we may be small potatoes, but if you position yourself to be, going to take over the world, or be able to be in all these different households, you now have a platform that's giving you that opportunity. And I think it's just so dope what, you have been able to carry, like you, Lulu. I've been knowing Carrie forever. We've been playing this dance, and it really has been on my fault, because I'm trying to advocate and lead for all these people and trying to manage everything and not taking time for myself or what have you. But, Carrie has been with 420 Media. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a room and they're like, yeah, because we got advice from Carrie or 420 Media. I'm like, yeah, I know Carrie. She's good Apple. Like, she's great, right? And so I want to transition just a little bit, because I think what you're talking about is so important. But two things that you guys, one thing for sure you guys have in common is New York. And you guys, New York right now is like one of the hottest topic markets in regards to conversation, in regards to growth, in regards to opportunity, in regards to just consumers wanting to see New York now be legalized. Yeah. I'll start with you, Lulu. Are you bullish on New York right now? What's your thoughts on it? And then I would love for you to talk about on the Revel, because you've done some really spectacular programming and connectivity. Let's talk about that a little bit, and about your position. I think, and shout out to Charlene Brown. She's with the New York Cannabis Chamber, and so she's wanting to get connected. But Lulu, share with us.
Yeah, so I think I was on a call yesterday with Charlene, actually. So our program just came on last week, our first dispensary. There was only 6 brands, actually. So it's been interesting. We've been waiting for a really long time. During this May, we had a conditional license that allowed for hemp farmers to start putting plants in the ground. And then our first set of licenses are called the card licenses. Those are conditional retail licenses, specifically for folks that have been convicted or arrested in New York for marijuana. So there were about, I think there were 45. Sorry, excuse my numbers.
Don't worry.
There were 8 nonprofits that were issued licenses for retail, as well as I think another 30 or 40. And, we in New York are trying to lead with equity first, which is very rare. We're the only market where in written in law, 50% of all license holders are supposed to be social equity. With any market, it's been a little bit of a rough start. I have lots of ideas of how I think things could have been done
A
better
lot better,
because
right?
yeah, because
The funny part is that you have so many, you have markets that want to come on board so fast, but the execution is always, you're like, you guys didn't think this through. Like what does that look like on the back end, right?
I mean, I'm a UX designer, so my whole thing is like we need to do discovery and research, and
Yes.
I think I am very hopeful with our OCM, or Office of Cannabis Management. There is intention and integrity behind that. It's never going to be perfect.
It's not going to be perfect. No.
You're never going to appease everyone, and I'm hopeful that something, coming from the UX background, I'm like, okay, the way we do things is we launch something, we figure out what's wrong, and we keep refining. So
right.
I'm hopeful that our OCM is open to that. I've seen a lot of markets where they have not been open to that. So I do feel like there is intention behind everyone on that board.
I agree 100%. And I think they've been pretty proactive as well in regards to when there's been like a little, when you've had that kind of stoppage, or not, I shouldn't say stoppage, but that blockage, been able to pivot pretty quickly to kind of go, okay, how do we fix this or what have you? Out of all the states, I think that New York is the most aggressive in regards to leading with social equity first. Shout out to Deshita Dawson, who was a part of Infra-MM for so many years, in her new role for New York City as their director. If anybody will get it right, Deshita will figure out how to get it right. So that's always an exciting opportunity and thing to think about as you guys are just kind of pushing through everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been working, a lot of the folks in the OCM, like we've started this in 2016. So, it's been really great to kind of create this community and build this community and actually see how transparent the OCM has been. I think it's just amazing coming from Washington, California. Yes. Everything has always been kind of behind the closed doors, and the fact that we've been working with the OCM to just get information out there, right? It's right now, like, what's also different about New York is with any application, there needs to be a community program alongside your application. So how are you going to be educating how are you going to be engaging with the community? Because normalization, destigmatization starts first, I think, within your family, and then secondly, into your community. So, I think there's a lot of intention behind it now. And I'm not going to say the execution has been perfect in any way whatsoever, but, we are the largest market. I mean, Carrie, you're from New York, it's its own unique beast. It's very high touch. It's been interesting to see how people think that they're going to come into New York and kind of bulldoze and do the same thing as they did in other markets, Florida. And,
although so just know that I'm here in Florida, and I know you have brands that just figure I could just drop it on your doorstep and everybody's going to buy it, and it's not. I tell people all the time that there is something about, you can have as many marketing slicks and pull up banners all you want, but there is something about having a relationship and people having a relationship and a connection to your brand, right? I think it's so critical. And New Yorkers, you guys are very savvy. Yes, go ahead, Carrie. Go ahead, Lulu. Please finish.
It's very high touch. I'm like I said, I'm UX. Before you launch a brand, before you go into a market, do some research. Absolutely. New York, you do not leave as a resident, not a tourist. You do not leave the vicinity of 4 blocks from where you live. Everything that you buy is local. I would never go to Times Square to go buy cannabis. That would never happen. I'm in Brooklyn. I would go within and I think what's kind of beautiful about what our New York program is trying to do is mimic that. Yes. The program here is about trying to create as much opportunity for small and medium-sized businesses, family-owned businesses. Because if you go to any neighborhood, that's what you see. Your liquor store, your bodega, your clothing, your grocery store. it's all local. It's very
Yes.
rare for us to see large national chains, except for banks and things. There are some in Manhattan, but that's very rare. So
Yes.
I think the lessons learned is, hey, let's create something that is New York, that is part of New York, which is small and medium-sized businesses. And let's, also give them the opportunity to compete with the conglomerates and the MSOs that will be coming in. But we have it in our law that MSOs will not be able to open retail for another 3 years. So there is, considerations of head starts that are happening in New York. So
Absolutely. I put up on the Revel before we go to Carrie and get her feedback about New York. Can you talk about maybe some of the program that you guys have done and just kind of the genesis of some of the ideas? And I think the participation, the energy around what you did was so fantastic. Shout out to Jacoby. I know Jacoby very well and have seen him and his maturation of New York. Mind you guys, they've been working on New York for a long time. We as an organization, M4MM, was able to come in and kind of just give some feedback. But the folks that live in New York have been pushing and fighting for this for a long time. And I look at Jacoby as one of those folks that's been like, hey, let's get this going. Let's figure out how to make this work. And now it's here. And so for you to share about On the Revel.
yeah, so we're a bunch of nerds. We're like, I am a design nerd. Jacoby is a math nerd. Peter, who's our head of community, is a neuroscientist. So he's like a brain science nerd. And then Jason Starr, who is our chief impact officer, comes from the regulatory and legislative world. Human rights lawyer, and this is just this is a passion project for us. So we started this in 2016. We started off as a little meetup at a co-working space. And now we're doing events that bring in, 500, 600, 700 people. Our next event is coming up on February 25th in Brooklyn. And the main focus is, we apply methodologies that we do with design thinking and lean UX, which is let's figure out who our attendees are. Let's figure out what type of programming or what type of information is missing. Because when we came up in cannabis, there was a lot of gatekeeping and limited access to information, to resources, to funding. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to democratize all of that information and provide good people, good resources, good information. So it kind of alleviates some of the pain points of trying to find are these good, these good operators? Are these good people? Who do I get as a lawyer? Who do I get as an X, Y, and Z? The thing that makes us different is after we come up with the programming, then we go through our Rolodex. So we've never done a call for speakers. Every speaker on our stage is someone that we've worked with or someone that our first degree has worked with. So I think that makes it a very different experience because there's a level of trust and there's a level of knowing that whoever we have on our stage, in most cases, I think we've had one oops, is someone that we think we would work with as well. So so we've been really excited to, grow as our market is coming online and provide information as our market is coming online with vibes. We have to make it New York. There's music, there's food, there's
the vibe is everything. If the vibe is not right, the party, the event is not right. Listen, that is, people go, man, Raj, we did our mixer in Vegas. They're like, it's a vibe. I'm like, yeah. And it's centric to who we are, right? So we're not going to apologize for wanting to vibe out, but also produce great programming and connectivity. So definitely put me down for February 25th. Slide me in somewhere. I want to come and love on you guys and support you guys. Carrie, with Connected TV and also 420 Media, how do you see that playing out in New York? And you have a connection to New York as well. Are people, if they're wanting to get content on your platform, are you able to silo it out based upon where people live if they have expressed interest in that particular state? Or is there a way to do that?
Yeah, we can, but really, it's like I said, we're a destination platform, so
it's universal.
Yeah, we can hyper localize, but people really need more than that. They actually need to be known, whether someone's especially New York or California. I mean, this is a tourist destination. So the more people that know about anything that's happening, they're gonna be going there. So just real quick, Lulu, happy to support any of your endeavors. I really like
Thank
what
you.
you're doing in New York, and I'll be there soon. I'm not in New York right now, but I will be there soon. So I'll try to see if I can get in on that 25th. That'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Listen, we have a little reunion in person, right?
I love that.
Super fun. And also we can talk after. 420 Media does have partners in traditional media and paid media in different avenues. So national's a hard one because of the federal, but locally we can definitely do stuff. As far as New York's a funny market. So, I'm a New Yorker, but I'm not on the ground in New York pushing the way I've been more on a national to get that information. And really it is to educate New Yorkers is how it started. First being my family, right? Because that's how I started getting into this. What Lulu's doing in these events is so important. New York is a unique environment. So I have an interesting perspective because I've traveled through so many states as they implemented legalization. There's no comparison to New York to any other place, first of all, on the West Coast. New York was never legal, whereas California, Oregon, Washington have been legal-ish for 10, 20 plus years. So there's just this sense of familiarity that New Yorkers don't have. You are either breaking laws, stigma, or your legacy, right? But if we smoked, we got it. We got delivery. We have everything that the industry has right now, and we have had that for years in New York. What's interesting and that I see that I hope that New York doesn't make mistakes on is one is like Lulu said, MSOs have 3 years. It all depends how quick can people get their businesses going to make that fair? Because if you look at California right now, they're getting annihilated. I was just up in the Emerald Cup specifically talking about what happened when they broke those rules on 64 that we're going to allow big grows to come in. It will annihilate people. And so I love the idea behind it and the intention, but there's real execution that has to happen. And the issue I've seen in New York and across the board is people's egos are too big. And ego is not your amigo in this industry. Yeah. It's really just not. And so step back and go, there's people making rules that have never walked into a dispensary. Right? That's a problem. And so I think that everyone needs to be educated. And it's really where I stand with the channel as well, is getting these programs out for the politicians, for the doctors, for the medical, for adult, for everyone that wants to understand what the plant is or wants to go to an event and they don't know how to find it, or whatever that may be, because there's so many people in New York, but New York's like this big, right? New York is small. We are up. We live on top of each other. Whereas I was just up in Humboldt and it's just spread out for acres and acres. You don't see but 10 people. And so it's like completely different. I hope New Yorkers, the CARD and all those associations, I know Jeffrey Hoffman's covering a lot in New York, just really steps back and really takes a breath and looks at the whole and go, what do we want to create? And right there with you, Lulu, is like you're designing, you're creating, and then you're reiterating it and you're making it better every single time. And so it's not that we're not going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to make a mistake. It's a brand new industry. Yes. But there is certain boundaries and there's certain infrastructure and there's certain ways to do things where there's respect, where equity is actually not just a word that people are throwing around, where businesses are actually getting the support they need, and minorities or anyone who is getting a license and has no business experience needs training. Right. And so there's all these other levels, as you can throw licenses everywhere. But if you give it to someone that has never had money, it's going to be gone. If you give it to someone that's never had power, it's going to be gone. And believe me, these are the easiest people to manipulate. And so that's where New York is like why I said emphatically, I will support you. Roz, I always support you. But Lulu, I will support with Connected and 420 and myself personally. I am very connected to people and I like introducing, because New York is really important, and it's important to get outside this industry, get to the local people, get to the people that are going in,
get to the people.
Teach them, because what they'll do is they'll go teach others, and it will spread in New York like no other. But it could also it could also be taken over by the gray black legacy, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I want to, and I also want to define the difference, in my opinion, about what gray and black is in New York. So we have legacy, and in my mind, legacy are folks that have been operating in New York for a long time, quietly in the background, doing their thing. You know, that's why we've built the largest consumer base of cannabis, I think, worldwide. And then about a year and a half ago, I'm going to say the gray market came in, right? The gray markets are the folks with money. I'm going to say legacy. A lot of legacy folks came into legacy market because of necessity, right? I mean, New York has stop and frisk. New York had Rockefeller laws, some of the most awful laws against, you know, social, economic, and as well as race. So the war on drugs.
Black, specifically targeting black men and brown men, right?
100%. So I'd say the legacy market, people have been doing this for 30 plus years, quietly doing their thing in New York. And then a year and a half ago, the gray market started. The gray market are folks, the opportunists that came in, opening up stores, absolutely no respect, coming into the OCM meetings and just saying, we deserve to be here. Just being very, like you mentioned, ego. Carrie, just being very loud and very egotistical, and just kind of like, and also taking away the market share from folks that have been working in New York for a very, very long time. So I just want to make a clear delineation that there is legacy folks that have been in New York doing their thing, and a lot of out-of-towners that have dropped in for this opportunity, because we're in this gray area right now in terms of the ability to do enforcement for a regulated market. So I just wanted to put that out there.
That's so fantastic, guys. So we've been talking a little bit about New York. We've been talking about media, but we are now in a brand new year, and there were some really interesting things that happened in 2022. Would love to get your thoughts on it. We're going to review 2022. I would say the good, the bad, and the irrelevant. And when I say irrelevant, I think there are some things that happen that is irrelevant to who we are and to our industry. So one of the things that I said that was kind of irrelevant, so I'll start there because I thought it was kind of quite interesting. Love to get your feedback on this one. So MLB and CBD brand form exclusive partnership. Major League Baseball signed with Charlotte's Web Holdings, one of the premier hemp-derived CBD brands in the nation. The brand will become the official CBD of MLB. Charlotte's Web will create a new line of sport cannabis products featuring the MLB logo. So what do you think? Good, bad, or irrelevant?
I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Carrie.
I'm putting you on the spot.
So it's good in the sense of it's normalization, right? And so it's good because people are going to see this in their daily life, like we spoke about earlier. It's and then it's Charlotte's Web, right? And so it's probably cost them a fortune to do that. It's an exclusive arrangement, so it's going to block other people out. And so it has mixed stuff on that angle of things, you know. It's like, because the thing with paid media is, and people need to understand, is it's paid media. You have to pay it. Every single eyeball that sees your ad, sees your billboard, read your article, even if it's earned, is still paid by somebody. And so I think that the education, when you talk about educating, I'd love to see the Media Council do this, educate some of these business owners of what media is. And how they can utilize it to the best of their abilities, because it does exist, and there's many people that aren't going to be able to get the major league baseball, but they can get local baseball, or they can get local news or organizations to start supporting their businesses, which will do the same thing in effect. So
I love it. Lulu, good, bad, or irrelevant? MLB partners with Charlotte Web, exclusive deal with their logo on it, sports products. Your thoughts?
I think it's interesting, you know, like, to what Carrie's point. I'm not a sports person, but I think it's important that athletes have access to alternative healthcare. right? Like instead of being on all of the prescription pills and all of those things, that there's other options that are more plant-based. So I think that in itself is helpful for athletes. My partner is an ex-hockey player. I see the pain and the concussion symptoms and the energy drains and insomnia that he deals with all the time after having 15 concussions playing, professional hockey.
And sports is such a beloved piece of Americana. Maybe it normalizes our industry a little bit more. Maybe
I think so. I think so. And I think a lot of the with these types of kind of like plant medicines, right? Like it's all about anecdotal stories of how it affects you. I don't really think there's real marketing or advertising that happens unless it's your experience with it. And it's not like you have a script for someone to talk about something. It's actual wow, I love this plant because it's done these amazing things for me physically or mentally or spiritually. So I think yes, in terms of normalizing having someone that you respect, that you love, as a sports figure, being able to come and talk about it, being able to talk about their experience and how it's been helpful for them is really important and is part of the normalization and destigmatization towards the plant. We've got like 100 years of rebranding to do for cannabis. I'm going to call it 3.0 now.
Yes, exactly. And and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right?
Long game. Right. This is a long game.
It's a long game. All right. So next thing, California protects employees from off-duty cannabis use. The California legislature passed a bill that prohibits employers from disciplining employees for using cannabis during their off-work hours. This law will be in full effect in January of 2024. Additionally, the bill will prevent employers from discriminating against candidates or workers who fail a drug test that detects non-psychoactive cannabis metabolites in their hair, urine, blood, and other bodily fluids. All right. So good, bad, or irrelevant?
I'm going to say that's good. I mean, if we think about, do you ever get tested for alcohol? Do you ever get tested for drinking alcohol outside of work? I think it's important to start normalizing that, hey, as a company, my employees use cannabis for whatever reason, whether it's adult use or for medical. But I think it's just part of the markers of moving forward with this plan is something that's not a demonized thing anymore.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice that you don't get tested? Like this is not even considered contraband, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost like it's good, but kind of like, no, that's not good. That's bad. So Carrie, what's your thoughts?
So my thought is you should absolutely not go near cannabis as far as testing unless you're telling someone, which we all have an endocannabinoid system, that we can't heal our own bodies. So this is where the education comes in for me, is endocannabinoid system all day long, because every time the reality is whether you buy herb from an adult use store or from a medical or whatever, it's still herb. And the way it affects my endocannabinoid system on a molecular is the same, regardless of the tax bracket. And so that's really where I stand, in that how dare someone tell me how to heal my body and question that when, unless it's something that, you're operating a machine or anything that you shouldn't. And even then, again, questionable where it goes into the science, because I know people that have the shakes, right? They're shaking. And then when they consume, they're calm. Right. And so it's to me, it's all medicine, regardless of where you buy it. So I stand on, unless you're going to start testing on
for every medicine.
Medicine.
Yeah. I love it. All right, here's another one. So Green Thumb Industries and Circle K will team up to sell cannabis at limited number of Circle K locations in 2023. Good, bad, irrelevant?
It's bullshit.
It's not Florida.
It's actually not real. It's actually just not real.
It was clickbait, right? Don't you think it was clickbait?
It's not. It's worse than clickbait if you dig deeper. I'm not going to go into that on this, but it's bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit. So I'll leave it as good PR. Or bad PR.
Lulu, what's your thoughts, honey?
Just like no comment with that story. Just like swipe left. Yeah, swipe left.
We'll swipe left. All right, so here's one. President Biden signs cannabis research bill. President Biden made history by signing a cannabis research bill into law. The Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act. By doing so, he enacted the first standalone federal cannabis reform legislation in the history of the United States. The law will give the U.S. Attorney General 60 days to approve an application or request additional information from the marijuana research applicant. Good, bad, or irrelevant?
About time. About time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been kind of interesting. I'm also advisor for Oakland Hi-Fi, which is a Black-owned and Black-led psilocybin research testing center. And it's interesting how they're both plant medicines, but psilocybin has been given a lot of opportunity for research, and therefore the conversations around that has been very positive and very it's just moving forward very fast. Versus cannabis has not been given the same opportunities for research, for access, for X, Y, and Z. So I think hopefully this is an opportunity to start allowing for all the different types of studies that really need to be, to happen to get all of the conservatives to come on board with this.
Yeah.
So
for conservative, it's going to have to be veterans and medical. And when we've had this kind of going back and forth on safe banking, which I think I would love to see a safe banking plus that brings in expunging people's records and a social equity component. But we have to remember that we live in a country with extreme political divide. And it's almost like, even though if you know it's the right thing to do, it's because if your colors don't support what my colors support, and me in blue versus red, we're not going to go for it, or we're not going to even support it.
I know
it's the right thing to do, right?
So yeah, people are voting. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would love to actually see these universities that get access to research actually be the testing facilities for cannabis. I would love to see a standard that every testing facility has for their testing protocols. That's what I would love to see. Actually,
we need to see some standards on across the board we need to have standards that are integrated, that are kind of I would say blessed at the federal level or at some level, so that we can have some standardization from state to state to state, right? Because we don't have that right now. It's kind of a hodgepodge, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, kill two birds with one stone. Give the universities ability to do research. And also give them the ability, so there's a standardized protocol across all of the universities to start doing testing and having standards and protocols for testing that are
right. They all agree on it. Yep, and that becomes the baseline, the bare minimum of what the private side has to do, right?
100%.
100%. Carrie, your thoughts on that piece as well?
Open it up. I want to see all the research. It should have never been taken from us. Again, go into history, like. Even with NIH, was when they were proving a cannabis was medicinal, government started pulling that information back. So I say, open it up. I mean, it is a plant that's been illegal for how many years? Yet here we are having this conversation where half the country, we can walk into a store and get herb. Half the country, if I get caught with it, I'm going to jail. And depending on what color it is the level of how long I'll be going. The whole thing is bullshit. And I say, open it up. Let's test, let's research. And if we find things we don't like, that's good, because then we know how to fix it.
Right.
Because as much as I am for cannabis, you know what? Cannabis isn't for everybody. So
it's not.
Have it. Well, and options are for everybody.
And we over at M4MM, we have a special interest in working, especially with some of our medical diagnoses that are very specific to African Americans, like sickle cell. My son has sickle cell anemia. I'm a sickle cell mom, and there is not, the subset of patients who have sickle cell is small in comparison to a cancer diagnosis. However, it has such an impact and effect on families who have loved ones who have it, and the pain management that goes along with it. We want that to be prioritized just as well with epilepsy or autism. We want that to be at the top of being able to be researched and looked at. So those are things that are clear and near and dear to our hearts in our community, and we should, like you said, open it up. So, all right. So I am wrapping up. One or two more. Next one. First cannabis executive featured on Forbes cover. Forbes features exceptional trailblazers on their magazines, including Spotify CEO and Daniel Ek and John and Patrick Collison, co-founders of Stripe. For the first time ever since the magazine launched in 1917, a cannabis leader was featured on the Forbes cover. Cookie's co-founder and CEO, Berner, graced the cover for the August-September 2022 issue. And so I will stop right there and say good, bad, or irrelevant. Your thoughts?
I don't have
and with no disrespect to Berner. So let me put this disclaimer out.
No, it's not even disrespect to Berner or anyone. I mean, again, if we're going to normalize, get it out there, just get information. I like getting information out. Is it relevant or irrelevant? I don't know. I mean, it didn't do anything for my day or business, but I do think like maybe someone reading that magazine, it did open their eyes, right? Or someone was able to share that information. And so for that, I think it's a great thing.
Yep. You just never know. Yep. Lulu, your thoughts?
I would say that
I thought you were going to say pass. I thought you were about to say
I mean, I want to really say no comment, but for the industry, I would say that I think he is probably the only successful, I would say, celebrity brand that's out there, the only one. And I think it's because he's approachable, he shows up, he's there, he's, reaching out to his community. So I do give him that. But in terms of other things, I'm just going to pass on that question.
And the very last one, and I think we'll all agree on this one, even though it was a small step in the right direction, but more to come. President Joe Biden cannabis pardons. President Biden pardons thousands of people who were convicted under federal law for simple cannabis possession. Many have called it a small step in the right direction that was long overdue. There are over 6,500 people convicted for simple cannabis possession from 1992 to 2021. So I'll stop there and I will tell you that I'll give you my thought on it. It's good, but it is surely not enough. We know that I think it was almost like a dog whistle, like, all right, I'm going to finally come out and say something towards an issue that's so important. My hope is that the local municipality and state government officials take this whistle and run with it to be able to release people from their records at that level, because that's where we're seeing so many people, and especially so many people coming from Black and brown communities that have these, these things on their records that can be released and erased and be able to help them have a much fuller life. So that's my position. But Lulu and Carrie, I would love to give you the last word.
I think I think more needs to happen along that line. Yes. I also think there needs to be, even I'm going to go as far as say restitution and support for folks coming out, because you go into jail for 20 years for, having a simple dime bag, and you're coming out 20 years later, and like, where are your resources? Where are your support? Where are the things that are helping you integrate back into this new world of like technology that you've never seen, So I give
not
lot.
Everyone. And the point is, and I want to make this clear to everyone, just because you have been incarcerated or you would be quote unquote considered social equity, not everyone that has or utilizes cannabis or has been incarcerated wants to be in the industry and wants to have ownership, and we need to recognize that, and that's where that restitution comes into play, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I think fair is fair. I say that a lot of the times, and sure. It's not about a legal fairness, it's about a human fairness. Like all of a sudden you're incarcerated, your life is taken away from you, and then some white person is out there jumping into the industry with their parents' money, blah blah blah, without any like repercussion for anything, off the blood, sweat, and tears of everybody else's back. I just think that there just needs to be a lot more to be done. Yes.
Carrie, you got the last word, sister. Your thoughts?
A lot more has to be done. I think I think out of 100%, that was a 1% of what he did. It was to say something. He didn't let anyone out. I think that, I was just with Freedom Grow, who's been supporting prisoners for as long as I can remember. I mean, Randy Grenier just came out of Lanier just came out of prison, 27 years.
Wow.
This to me, like it's so insanity to me. But again, like, we're disconnected as a country. You still today, you can go into a store and buy herb, and you can go into another state across the line and go to jail for that same herb you just bought. So, every prisoner, nonviolent for a plant, should be let out. At least, at minimum, be given a way out.
Yeah.
Being locked up like this is insanity at best.
At best. No, you said it. I mean, 100%. Thank you guys for doing that review with me. We have covered so much good information today and so much learning and understanding. And from your perspective, I think all of our folks in the audience that's with us. Shout out to Amanda. Amanda was like, it was half-assed, so I have to put that on the screen. And I loved it. Like, I love you guys being honest. I love you guys. Shout out to Lena Trinidad and Farrah. CannaTalk with Roz, we're back, man, and we need you. Spread the word. Tell people. I have people like Lulu and Carrie on for a reason, because they're brilliant, and a lot of times people don't know who these individuals are, and I want you to meet them. I want you to get to know them. I want you to do business with them. So I'm Roz McCarthy. I'm going to be signing off now, guys, and guess what? At 3:00, I'm coming back on. I got Lena Trinidad. We're talking about supplier diversity. Lulu, we need to talk about supplier diversity. That is a priority with M4MM. We should see this not only in New York as a priority, but throughout this country, because there are millionaires waiting to be made on the supplier side, and it shouldn't be just the good old boys network. If this is an industry that's open for everyone and you want to be inclusive, then let's make sure we have diverse suppliers within that whole chain, right?
100%.
100%. So we have to get together. You guys have a beautiful Friday. I love you guys. This show has been sponsored by Black Buddha Cannabis, which is my brand. You guys make sure you stay connected. We'll be back next Friday at 1 p.m. for CannaTalk with Roz, and have a great weekend. Love you.
Love you.